There's a contradiction at the heart of property management. In a business built on assets, why does everything come down to human pain? We've been told to fight churn with spreadsheets. It isn't working. We've been told burnout is just the cost of doing business. But what if it doesn't have to be? In this keynote, I ask the hard questions. What's the real reason owners leave? And what if the real prize of the AI shift isn't more market share, but the chance to finally end the burnout cycle? This is the single biggest idea from the new book we just published, Property Manager's Guide to Winning with AI. Stay with me. This might just reframe the way you see the future of property management with AI. Welcome to the Property Management Framebreakers podcast. I'm your host, Pablo Gonzalez, and I am here to introduce you to the folks in the property management space that have broken the frame of what you may believe was possible. This podcast is presented by Vendoroo. It is your all-in-one AI solution for resolving your maintenance needs. Let's go.
I'm a little more nervous than usual for this talk, not gonna lie. All right, my friend Justin Anderson, is he in the room? There he is. Has anybody heard him talk at like Southern States, other conferences? He always, every time I hear him speak, people all come by the booth like, did you hear that Justin Anderson guy? And to a T, what everybody talks about is this concept that he speaks of. And it's that property management is going into this golden era of property management, right? Like the combination of high prices, high interest rates, generations that aren't necessarily interested in owning homes, renter nation coming is setting up for like a big moment in this industry. And I can tell you as a vendor, I feel it. I feel it on all these shows, all these new businesses coming through, all these new opportunities that are happening is very, very real. And something else that I really believe in is the idea that context changes are the moments that create the greatest wealth creation opportunities. What do I mean by that? Anybody here know somebody that started selling in eBay early on and now has like a multi-million-dollar e-commerce business, right? Like the rise of e-commerce has completely changed the ability to create wealth for people. The internet, right? People that started doing content in like 2010 are now these like massive people that have created great wealth for themselves. I would even boil it down to like anybody that learned to code in the 90s has had a better career than most people, right? These context changes, these dawns of new things, when things change, these moments happen. And property management beyond the macroeconomic environment has been going through some massive context changes recently. Does anybody remember a time not too long ago when nobody spoke about property management, right? Maybe a far time before the mayor of New York started getting elected based on like telling you how to do your job, right? This elevated level of regulation, like what Alex Swidoff spoke about yesterday, that's a context change. The rules of the game are changing in front of us. That's a massive opportunity. What other context change has been happening? It's just getting started. The great generational wealth transfer. Boomers are starting to die. I'm an old millennial, right? Like I have friends who are now cleaning up the mess of the fortunes of their boomer parents. It's great for them, but it's changing our clientele little by little. This will happen over the next 20 years. The people that we serve will have completely different requirements and ways to want to be served. And then the big context change, the one everyone is going through, the rise of AI, artificial intelligence. Everybody knows what that means. I don't know why I said that. And my friends, this is the big one, right? Like this is akin to the rise of social media, the rise of the internet, electricity, right? Like everybody's talking about how AI will change the world. And because of that, I see this, like I told myself, I remember after I realized that I missed like the early influencer train where I totally could have done it. I could have been an influencer. I have the personality. I was like, I'm not missing the next one. The next one I'm jumping on, right? And this AI one is surprisingly approachable for everybody. You don't have to be an extrovert and be an influencer. You don't have to be a nerd and be a programmer to do this. Everybody can jump on this AI change. But here's the thing about the AI change, right? Like we're all gonna wanna read books and like learn about it and do these kinds of things like these other early waves that people got onto. But AI is changing shockingly fast. I don't know why this is a word. Here we go. Okay, here we go. Has anybody heard of Moore's Law? Do y'all know what Moore's Law is? It's the idea that technology doubles in capacity every 2 years. You add that up, it's this like exponential rate of change. I will summarize it in like a quick feeling. Think about yourself in 2005. In 2005, if you were running a property management company, you were likely debating whether or not to run a Yellow Pages ad or build a website. That's just 20 years. 20 years. Facebook didn't exist, mobile phones weren't doing the thing, right? Like, that is in just 20 years how much has changed. That's attributed to Moore's Law. That's the rate of change of technology. But here's the deal. What have you all heard about AI? AI doubles in power every 6 months. From every 2 years to every 6 months. 4 times as fast. It is not crazy to think that 2030 is going to be as different from 2025 as 2005 and what we just thought about based on this rate of change, 4x, right? That's just mathematics. Who knows it will be there? Who knows it'll be like 80%, 50%? It's still insane. So if we're gonna learn about AI, we need different ways to learn about it, right? You can't, you can't spend 2 years researching it, a year writing a book, 6 months editing it, 6 months launching it. You're gonna get 3-year-old information. The game has changed, right? Like, what is it, 1 billion times in 3 years? I don't know the math, right? But it's gonna be outdated information. And that's why for this book that I put out, I took a completely different approach of this. I've spent since October, November of last year, using a podcast to talk to property managers, talk to experts in property management, right? Talk to people in technology, read everything I freaking can, engage in every single AI conversation I possibly can around how AI is changing, the world of property management, what the problems are that you hope to have fixed, how those feel, how they're getting worse or better based on these changes, what AI has to do with it, how AI feels right now, where it can go, what we all believe, and what's working right now. And from those conversations, took the transcript, stuck it into a custom chat GPT that's been trained on like all the ways that I speak and all the ways that I write and all the ways that I think, and I jammed with it to tease out the ideas that make the most sense, that hold the most water, and put them into a form that's easy for people to understand. I'm not a technologist, right? Like, I need to be able to explain this in a way that I can understand it. And I've been publishing it as a newsletter since January. And because I publish it as a newsletter, I get feedback on what really made sense to people and what they really agree with and what is just like, oh, that's kooky old Pablo being like a visionary or whatever, right? So I took those newsletters, I refined them a little bit, and I grouped them into the world of property management and the new promise, how to understand AI, how to build a business around AI, wealth creation in the world of AI and property management right now, and what's next. And that's the result of this book. So it's a completely different way to crowdsource, share information, learn from each other. Am I an author? I don't know. I wrote this thing with AI based on other people's ideas and mine, right? But I believe that this new way of sharing information is necessary for a world of such rapid change. And in this talk, I just want to share with you the TLDR, right? The what have I really learned that I think is most important for you to understand, even if you don't want to read the rest of this stuff, right? Even if you don't want to read the rest of this concept. Y'all want to hear about it? I'd like to get a little energy going. I feel like that was really dense. Can we do a slow clap? I like to do slow claps when we start. Ready? Yeah. Go. Let's go. All right. That's my favorite. That's my favorite thing to do. Okay, cool. So why am I here? Right? You know, they say that in moments of the most pain, you get the most clarity. And for me, 10 years ago, I'm standing at my brother's funeral and I'm looking around a church that has 1,200 people in it, packed. And this thing washes over me that tells me these 1,200 people, this goes way beyond whatever we all believe. This is my community. These are the people that have helped us through this 2-year battle in pancreatic cancer. They're carrying us right now. And there's nothing in the world that could provide this type of value to my family and me and everybody like community. And I thought at that moment, I'm never leaving this. And the lightning strike, right, that moment of clarity was, oh my gosh, ever since I was 16, I've been like 1 foot in and 1 foot out of the Catholic Church. And now I just decided I'm never gonna leave. That just solved for churn. That just solved for a business outcome. And I got obsessed with this idea of community creation as business development and how it's the future of the business development. That's been my mission for the last year. It transformed my career first. Then I switched careers. Then I started a company called Be The Stage, offering this thing as a service. And as Be The Stage, my first client that I really landed, that was like a significant client after I got beyond like the influencers and authors that want community online, is a company called JWB Real Estate Capital out of Jacksonville, Florida. Anybody heard of them? Turnkey rental property investing, completely vertically integrated from land acquisition to construction to remodeling to property management to account management. And they had a problem that I could solve with this community program because they wanted content, and this community thing creates content. We started this podcast, the Not Your Average Investor Show, January 2020. By December 2020, we had created a $40 million channel with it, and we had a fan appreciation show where people were coming on saying, this is my community, this brings so much value to my life, and this is why I do business with JWB, right? I built my business off the back of that story. That got me to keynote NARPM Broker Owner 2024. Anybody there? 2024, Amelia Island, NARPM Broker Owner. So I got to speak there. That's why I'm on stage here, right? That's why Vendoroo found me. That's why I'm speaking here. All these different things. But the non-obvious aha was I found this value in community, and it was so clear to me that this was the way. It was so clear to me that this is what's happening. This is where we're going. Like this community thing is something all businesses need to do, not just Harley Davidson and Apple. And I was like a founder that found a solution in search of a problem, right? And it was really hard for me to get people to understand it until I read this book, Play Bigger, about category design. And this book is basically about the companies that changed the world. The opening quote in my book is by one of the authors in Play Bigger that says, everything is the way it is today because somebody changed it from the way it was, right? So it's this how to affect change at a large scale, and it comes with this category design formula, which is where this context thing comes from, and the pattern recognition of the context thing. And it's this idea that when a context shifts, it creates a new missing, right? It goes from here to here. Now there's a gap over here. That could be a new problem that we've never had to solve before, that we now have an opportunity to solve, or because it moves over here, it gets closer to an old problem that we just assumed was the cost of doing business and we couldn't solve. And that creates the justification for why innovation, why do something different, right? This category design formula. So you'll see this in what I'm talking about. These context changes have happened. This new thing is here that can help us solve old problems in a new way. It's the reason why we can believe this. But the number one thing you take away from this book, and the number one thing I took away in order to implement this community thing, is that the person that understands the problem the best will be understood to have the best solution, right? When I had community, I just had the value. I didn't know what the problem was. I had to figure that out before I could build a business, right? So let's understand the problem. Cool. AI is cool, right? We all see it. Like, it can do cool things. Is it solving a problem? And is it solving a problem for us? So this is one of the podcasts I had with Michael Lee. Michael Lee is, I think, like some people in this room, some people in this room want to be like, right? Maybe some of you are already like him. He bought a property management company. He was a computer programmer, bought a property management company at 300 doors, doubled it in size by investing in technology without having to grow a lot of headcount. And then he hit that 600 door wall. At that point, he was looking at, do I need to hire a whole nother team that can kind of like do this and reduce my profitability so I can try to scale? What if I get that wrong? I'm churning clients at an average rate, so I'm going deep into this. At 600 doors and churning 10%, you lose 60 doors, so you got to land 60 new ones before you can even think about growing, so you got to land 120 a year, right? Like that whole kind of like that echelon that a lot of us get stuck in property management. He hit that, so of course he did what a lot of us want to do. He sold his business to one of these roll-ups, and he went in-house. And he started building out product in-house, and he saw how these operations grow through acquisition. And he realized, for this company in particular, that every time they acquired a new company, they had about a 30% churn. And that was the thing that he just couldn't go to sleep with, right? Churn at the organic level is one thing, churn at the acquisition level is another thing. To me, the biggest problem in property management, the thing that keeps us up at night as business owners and as people that want to stay motivated to do a great job for folks, is this fear of churn. It sets up a really impossible scenario, right? So again, talking to folks, where does this churn come from, right? Thank you. What I'm hearing a lot right now is the idea that we can solve the churn thing. It's coming from them not seeing our value, right? Does anybody feel here like sometimes maybe your owners or your tenants don't see how valuable you are to their life? You feel that? Yeah, right. Pretty clear. And the solution that's being proposed right now that I hear the most is this focus on NOI. Makes a lot of sense, right? Man, if we can prove to the owners how much money we're actually making them, then that will quantify our value. I think it's a great idea. I think Jeremy and Jen are developing these programs of how to actually sell NOI and asset management value, which I think is brilliant. And in talking to Jordan, like what he educated on me on, because I'm going to push back on this right now, right? Just spoiler alert. What he said that's an absolute truth is that if you can speak in terms of your client's priorities, you're going to win, right? Like speaking in terms of people's priorities, that's changed my life, right? So like if you learn the language of NOI, you understand what they're really seeking, that's definitely good for you. But I'm not sure it's going to solve the churn problem. For one, you versus the next property manager, how much NOI can you really prove that you save? $50 a month? $100 a month? Like, is that feasible, right? Maybe. Do you think like $50 a month is really gonna like change someone's life? Like, do you think that that's what's causing the churn? I'll offer you 2 stories. One of my roommates when I lived in Southern California, Brian Rosenthal, one of my best friends, from 2012 to 2022, the dude crushed it in real estate. He just bird and 1031'd his way from 31 years old to 41 years old and financially independent, right? Had his costs, his passive income covered his living expenses. He's financially independent. And right around 2022, sold his entire portfolio and put it in the market. I was freaking shocked. 2021 was when I was buying my first property and I was like gung-ho JWB and I'm like all in on real estate. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Don't you understand that you get like a 18% IRR here? Why are you going to settle for 7%? You're there, bro. Get a good property manager. Like, what are you doing? And he's like, dude, when it comes to real estate, it's just inevitable that we're going to feel pain, right? Like there's just these moments that just suck. And I just don't want to deal with it. I'd rather just count on 7% for the rest of my life on average. Okay. All right, Brian. Weirdo. But he didn't churn out of the asset class because of NOI. He churned out of something else. Pain. Right? I'll tell you my story. This is when it really hit for me. I bought 3 properties with JWB from 2021 to 2023. In 2024, I purchased my first property myself. I bought a duplex close to the beach where I like to surf, house hacking, right? I'm living in one, renting out the other. So naturally, I don't want to manage that thing. I'm going to give it to JWB, right? Like this is like the people that gave me my shot. This has been my mentors. The guy that I do the show with is like my best friend. I'm going to give it to JWB. But here's what happened. Over the years, as JWB managed my properties, stuff happens, right? Like we had an eviction. We had a moment where somebody on the team missed a warranty and they almost charged us like $2,700 for a roof repair that we didn't have to pay, that my wife caught, and that completely eroded trust. And as we started, renting out to now people that know who we are, we started hearing all of the stories. And man, after like a year and a half of me just taking bullets over the dinner table, these like kitchen table conversations are just like, I don't trust these guys. How do you know? Like, are you selling snake oil, right? We finally decided to give that unit next door to somebody else. We churned, right, from JWB. And it wasn't because of NOI. It was because of those kitchen table arguments, right? It was because when stuff was out of whack and we were spiraling, somebody wasn't there to hold our hands, Now that I've been in this industry, I totally get it. Right? Like you have infinity different problems that you have to solve. You have to create procedures and standardize what you do, or else you're going to go insane. Your business is going to break. Your people are going to burn out. I totally get it. But it's not worth me fighting with my wife over it for like a year. It's much easier to be like, yeah, let's give someone else a shot. After a while, right? Like, so these KTAs, to me, my lived experiences, that's why I churn. Does that make sense? Right? It's unfair. I'll be clear. It makes sense though. Let's talk about the data though. Anybody read the PM Trends report from Peter Lohman newsletter and Lead Simple? A really, really cool piece of research. I'm fascinated by the way that they put together as a marketing exercise. I think it's brilliant. It's one of the things that inspired me to write my book. But here is what the data is telling you. 73% of owners expect you to return, to give you an answer, give them an answer about something same day, within an hour to a few hours. Anybody hitting that mark? Anybody answers everything same day? It's hard, right? That's hard. I mean, I get it, right? Like 1 business day seems pretty reasonable. 2 to 4 business days seems pretty reasonable, but this is what they expect. This is what they're asking you for. More than 50% of maintenance repairs are expected to be done in under 3 days. Industry benchmark, according to MELD, 6.1 days, twice as slow, right? This is the problem. This is what people want from you that feels completely unfair, right? I get it. And then here's the kicker, right? Like 65%, we preach passive income, man, passive lifestyle, like don't worry about it. But 65% of real estate investors and owners, they want some control, right? Like they want it. And I know you can't, I know why you can't give it to them, right? It's this whole like break the equation thing. It's impossible. That's what they want. So let's talk about the promise, right? This is the state of the industry, the promise of AI before we talk about how it understands. What if instead of every question taking like a 1 to 3 hour work order dive, you could just go into your property management system and be like, what the hell just happened? And it just tells you, right? Is the owner upset and why? Or is the resident upset and why? Why is it that my vendor hasn't shown up, right? Do I have any fires to put out and get instant answers, right? I'm just showing you stuff from our stuff because everybody's in day one of AI right now, and this is stuff that we're already doing. So I'm sure other people are doing it, and I'm just assuming that it's out there, right? That already exists. Like a ChatGPT inside your property management software that answers any question that you might have about your work orders already exists. How about this? This is a little bit more complicated. So easy, answers easy, right? What about repair time? Right? What about maintenance time? That sounds a little harder, right? I call this the tale of two washing machines. This is a resident that hit us up while they were at work at lunch and said, my washing machine is broken. AI got on with them and said, oh, cool. Let me ask you something. Is this happening? She's like, I'm at work. I'm not going to be home till 10 p.m. AI responds, cool. Hit me up at 10 p.m. Okay. Right? Gets back on at 10 p.m., talks through the issue, troubleshoots it, and ends up solving not just the washing machine, but there was also something wrong with the dryer. Okay, cool. So that's troubleshooting, and right, that's just like taking it off the table in a way that normally would be a lot more laborious. Picture it didn't happen. Same thing happens. Somebody comes home, they're doing their laundry at 9:20 p.m., right? Because we all have lives, we all have work, we do laundry at night. Something goes wrong with the washing machine. The resident thinks that they know what's going on. AI says, you better send me a picture. Sends a picture, AI correctly triages it, creates a work order. The next morning, the work order is already created by the time you get to work, and the vendor has already been assigned. Do you think that that can compress these like 3 to 6 days? Those two things happening? What about control? Nick back there with the hat and the debonair affair. He recently, rethought of our onboarding sequence. And now we do these cohort onboardings where I'm like hanging out with people, I'm seeing what they're learning. And something turned on the lights for somebody recently that I got to witness. They were looking at like what the AI was doing, and they saw it in this property, and they're like, oh, hey, that property has an elderly resident that's been there a really, really long time. Don't troubleshoot with that guy. He's friends with the owner. Just send a vendor. And we're like, okay, wrote it in here. AI creates a custom workflow for that property that it lives in, and boom, customization, control, right? Like think about extrapolating the idea that every time you want to change a process, A, you don't have to spend hours doing it or thousands of dollars having somebody to do it for you. B, you can have all these different processes and not have to then go train your team on each and every single one of them because AI just immediately, this is what we do now, right? And C, you're not setting people up to fail for having to look at different things because this thing can look at all of it at the same time. You think that can help with control? Cool. So that's the promise of AI. Let's talk about what this is, right? The new context shift in AI is agents. Anybody heard Agentic AI or AI agents? It's the buzzword, y'all, right? Let's talk about what that means. Generative AI, ChatGPT, I like to describe it as a genie. It is freaking magical. You rub the lamp, you get a wish, you rub the lamp again. It's amazing. Agentic is more like the Terminator. You give it a job, and it's going to continue until it can't anymore, right? Better jobs than what this Terminator got us, right? We're not out here. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that Agentic AI, for the first time ever, is no longer a tool to do your job better or faster or easier or whatever. It is something that'll do a job that has like a job description. It'll do it for you so you can go do something else. It is akin to hiring an employee. That's why you hire employees, right? It's not sentient, you don't have to fall in love with it, whatever, but the mindset is you give it a job. And what does it mean when you hire an employee, right? You hire an employee to handle something for you, right? They have to own the outcome, or they're like a glorified assistant that may or may not be worth it, right? Employees don't walk into your business and tell you how to run your business, right? They walk into your business and they learn the way that you do it, and they execute the way that you do it. And nobody hires anybody. You don't spend money on hires unless you know that there's like a result that it can drive, right? This is very different to the software mentality, right? The software mentality is like, oh, there's a little bit of incremental change here. We got to learn this thing and then use this system. And, it's going to slice off some of my jobs so I can be a little bit faster. This is a very different mentality of what it means to be agentic AI. And now everybody is AI, right? Everybody. Have you heard of any technology company being like, nope, we are not AI, right? Everybody's AI, right? So there's like three foundational ways that AI is coming out in this space. There's the existing players that are rolling AI inside of it. And there's kind of like two philosophies there. It's the closed platform, the platform that says, hey, we're going to build all the best agents for our platform and trust me, you're going to love it, right? Those people, you are putting a lot on you're trusting them with a lot, right? Then there's the open platforms. There's the rent vines. There's the door loops that are here, whose philosophy is explicitly open. They're not building agentic, they're doing it, but they're also saying, hey buddy, we're going to set this thing up so that you can plug whatever, AI teammate into this system and make it easy for you. Those people are your friends. They are saving you from like cost of switching if they can't do it good enough, right? And then there is the agentic builders, right? Like these first two, they're building cars and, some are building drivers, others are building drivers, right? Others are just building agents to plug into other platforms and use for yourself. That's what we do, right? So have that mental scaffolding when you're thinking about what AI is. Anybody here have a meh feeling when you try like AI for the first time, right? It's like, man, I'm not gonna say names of platforms, but like they just rolled out this thing, they made this big hype, I tried it, it sucks. I feel like that's pretty common, right? So this is Kyle Erb, he's the director of systems for RPM. Uniquely super technical nerd guy that also lives and breathes property management. He made it click for me, right? The reason why is because legacy softwares are built on forms. They're built on forms with if-then logic, right? Like you can go one way or another, and as long as you're inputting the right thing, it's gonna go down the tree and it's gonna make that happen. When they roll out automation, what that form-based logic can do is outbound automation. You can set a sequence of like reach out that can stop when something happens, whatever, but if we go inbound, it breaks. The moment that the form is like, do you want grilled cheese or steak? And someone's like, hey man, what can I have to drink? It breaks, right? So it's not meant to handle inbound communication. It's meant to handle outbound communication. And the unfortunate circumstance is that when you while native AI things are built on large language models, we've heard this term before, large language model, right? That's this like multi-vectory kind of thing that you can talk in regular language. It's the difference between the way that you talk to Google, or you used to talk to Google, and the way that you talk to ChatGPT, right? It's just like natural language stuff. So what happens when you have like a form-based model and then you try to like inject some like natural language stuff in it? It doesn't really feel right, right? Like it's like, again, what's the problem you're solving? What did you build this thing to do? And can you just kind of like reverse engineer, or do you have to rebuild anew? Kyle's thesis is that you got to rebuild, right? Like when you add form-based logic and then you sprinkle in AI, neither of them work as good as they would work by themselves, right? That's what he told me on this podcast. Finally made sense for why everybody's so skeptical about the existing players and the experience that they've had with AI, right? So again, we're at this moment where it's like you can rebuild AI native, or you can, allow people to like plug their thing in that works in their own large language model ecosystem and it works. But not everybody is experiencing meta results with AI, right? He's become my buddy now, Bill Davey. He is the head of maintenance for Happy Homes. This is a text he sent me the other day. Dude, Vendoroo just handled 99% of work orders without me. I was like, it ended up becoming like you're gonna become a professional hacky sack player. That was the conversation that ended up ensuing. But this really, we started seeing not everybody's getting the same results. So we needed to figure out what's working for the people that are at this, what we call, our baseline is like, if you get to 85% automation, you're there. And then there's like the peak of the mountain, the Bill Davies, the 95, what we call the 5% club, like 95% automation. So we started breaking that down. Bill, by the way, fascinating guy. He got hired from Lowe's. He was just like a manager at Lowe's, got hired to run maintenance in his property management company because he was handy, and then figured out his own process and then went out and procured, picked us. He now doesn't refer to himself as a maintenance guy. He calls himself the AI czar, which I think is cool. So obviously I want to encourage that. So what is the path? What is the path to 95% automation? We all got together. I talked to the rest of our clients that are doing this, that are reaching this level, talked to our team. I got on with Nick and with Dave and other folks of our team to figure it out. And we realized that there's 3 keys to success. The first is this really buying into the teammate mentality. There's actually a podcast, I just shared it with Marilu, of like us interviewing Bill about what's working for him. He really embraced the idea that this is a teammate, right? Like he's just like, well, I'm not gonna treat this as software, I'm gonna treat it as a teammate. What does that mean? Right, like embracing that, like normally if you have a software and it doesn't work on day one, you're like, this thing sucks. But if you have a teammate that doesn't exactly do it exactly how you want to do it, you're just like, oh, okay, I can coach them up into doing this because if they learn this, then they can do this forever and continue to get better and be better than how I had it before, right? So that's the mentality. It's like a growth mentality of like, oh, this thing's going to improve. Day one, like our AI shows up with about 7 years of experience in how they do the job, but then they need to learn how you want the job done based on their experience too. So what does that mean? That takes you into the mirror phase. When you are first onboarding these agents, think about bringing on a teammate, just like I said, 7 years of experience, they show up, they were working at your competitor, you got them. You landed the fish that you wanted to take away from them. They're gonna show up, do their job the way that they've always done it. Based on the training that you gave them, they're gonna adapt some. And then there's gonna be moments where they're gonna be like, ooh, I know how to do this, but I think you might want this done a different way. How do we do it your way, right? That could be seen as failure of a teammate, or it could be seen as like, oh, perfect opportunity. Let's use this as a training instance, and let's be like, whoa, how did you do it back then? Is there something I can learn from my competitor? Do we want to do it that way, or do we want to do it my way, right? Same thing happens with Agentic AI. It's going to reach points where it doesn't know where to move next. It's going to be like, hey, help me out here. And at that point, that's your opportunity to say, do I want to, button this up and make a new process around it, or what, right? Like, so that's the mirror phase. And what we talked about, what we just shared at breakfast, was if you spent like 2 weeks just like overprotective parent looking at everything it's doing for the first 2 weeks and asking it, why are you doing it this way? How come you didn't do it that way? Don't do it this way next time, do it like that. You're gonna reach an employee that you've really onboarded really, really well. And at that point, you get to the multiplier phase. Right? Has anybody ever found like that employee that like took that thing off of your plate and now you never really have to worry about it, and now like your world has opened up, right? Like, oh my God, I can finally do this, right? That's the multiplier phase, right? When I spent the day with Bill, he spent about an hour kind of like messing with the program. The rest of the time, he was looking into this like $2,500 bill so he could really explain to an owner and get competitive pricing. He was looking at this like vendor relationship that he could roll out and maybe like increase profit margins in what they're doing, right? It was a very different job description than your typical maintenance person that's like, oh my God, I gotta get back to this message, and answer this email, right? That's the multiplier phase, and that's the path with Agentic AI. Think of it as a teammate, go through the mirror phase, which is the onboarding and the training, and then you get to the multiplier phase, right? This mirror phase, depending on, like how rock solid your processes are, might be more painful, less painful, but it is no different than if you were trying to bring on an all-star employee, right? So that's where AI is right now. Let's talk about what's next. I don't know if y'all saw this, but a couple months ago, the CEO of Shopify, the CEO of Duolingo, and the CEO of Fiverr had their memos leaked about their AI strategies. Right? I found this. Anybody see that? Yeah. You're on top of it, man. You've raised your hand for everything. I love it. I appreciate it. Thank you. So here's what I found interesting about this, right? Like, I'm out here figuring stuff out, right? I'm talking to property managers. I'm talking to all these different folks. At the end of the day, I can stand up here. If I told you that I don't have a vested interest in you wanting to do business with Vendoroo, you know I'm lying. I'm a marketer. These guys, what they shared wasn't meant for us. Right? It was meant for their team. It was meant like this is what they are going to do. And that's why I think it really, really matters. So let's talk about what they shared. 3 very different reasons why, but they all came out with very similar takeaways, right? Shopify CEO, their policy is like we only hire 10x people. And when he realized that AI is a 10x tool, and if you put a 10x tool in the hands of 10x people, you get 100x results. He decided AI was policy. The Duolingo guy thought back to context changes. He thought back to 2014 when they decided to build mobile first. And because they built mobile first on the new platform that was changing, they became Duolingo, right? Before that, it was Rosetta Stone. Now it's Duolingo is the category king of this thing. So they're like, AI is the new platform shift. AI is strategy. We're going to build AI first. CEO of Fiverr had a very different takeaway. He saw it as an existential threat. right? Like, he really believes that AI is coming for people's jobs, and it was his duty to get people to like really understand AI so they can be successful in the world of AI and not be replaced by AI. But they all, like I said, had very, very similar takeaways of why they got here. These are the high-level ones, two really big high-level ones. One is, what was once hard will now become easy, and what was once impossible will be the new hard, right? This is their core belief. Does that sound like work order diving was hard, asking a question, getting an answer is easy, mass customization was impossible, mass customization will now be just hard, right? We're living that same cycle that they know right now. And then this is, I think, what's most important to everybody here in this room, right? They all decided that no matter what your job was within the company, everybody in the company is now managing change. The world is changing. There's nothing we can do about it. You can have your own opinions about AI, whatever you want, but it's freaking coming, right? So we're gonna have to manage this change. And they see this as an imperative for making sure that their people will have jobs in the future, right? Like if they don't lead this with them, then they're making them unemployable in 10 years, just out of selfishness, right? Out of like not wanting to go through the pain. I think it's the same, right? Like I look at like Bill Davies' future career path is forever changed, right? Like he is the first AI czar of the property management industry, no longer just maintenance guy. He's at the tip of the spear of this thing, and everybody in your company can now become that too, right? Like you're gonna be able to give them future opportunities. So here's how they internally thought to themselves how they're gonna lead the change. All of them were like master AI tools, right? Like all of them had a takeaway that they had because 6 months ago they made a presentation and were like, AI is here. And then they decided to just like go all in. And the insights that they created by using AI led to all these realizations, right? And this is what worked for them. Using the tools, surrounding themselves with AI thinkers. They believe there's a window of time to be missed. Get clear on strategy and build it with AI and stop waiting for growth opportunities. You got to create them. The TLDR of that is that they all believe that you can't wait to figure this thing out, to figure out how to do it. You got to do it to figure it out. It's changing too fast for you to be like, well, when it's ready, I'm going to jump in. At that point, you know, like you might just be way behind and like no longer fluent in the new language of the world because it's changing 4 times faster than technology was before us, right? This was their takeaway. Now, how do we move forward, right? There's a couple easy tweaks that you can take from these memos. I've implemented this, right? Demand everybody from intern to exec team to be hands-on in AI, right? Like just make that part of your conversation. Hey, what have you learned in AI this week, right? Like I'm just always talking about that. Any new insights on it? Oh, this is what I found, right? Like sharing it. Make it part of performance reviews, right? We implemented this immediately. Require proof, right? Like if someone's gonna ask for like help on something, hey, why can't AI do this, right? Like why do we need to like bring in a new member? Why do we need something else? Can we not do this with AI first? And include AI as a hiring metric. Right? Like if you're hiring people, that's a great way to bring in AI knowledge. I recently hired a new writer, completely redid our whole writing process with AI because that's what she was doing. And we're like, oh, great. Now we just learned from her, right? This like idea of surrounding them with people. This is the #1 question I ask in hiring right now. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't want to hire. And anybody that's unemployed right now better be diving deep into AI, right? Like they have the opportunity to redo their role AI first. And if you're not doing it, you're just telling me you're not an A player, man. Sorry, not sorry. So what's going to happen over time? Require teams to go to redesign their workflow, not just like how do you add AI to your workflow, but how do you create an AI first workflow? Reimagine this thing, right? We do something called bets in my company where we ask, you know, what's your quarterly bet? I made everybody make a quarterly bet around, make a bet of how to make something that you do an AI first process, not just reverse engineer it into AI. You know, start having these conversations. 1 quarter, 2 quarters, 3 quarters, it's going to be worth it as you continue doing this. Naming the AI czar just, you know, it's kind of same thing, like they didn't say AI czar, right? I'm just talking about Bill, but they're like, name somebody in your company the queen bee of this thing, right? Like you're gonna change their career forever. Enable them to like dive into this. It will make them forever more valuable in their process. And if it's not you, I'm not a techie person, right? Like you just gotta have somebody that's really driving this all the time and be like, well, have you tried about this? Have you thought about that? Nick is kind of the AI czar of our, well, I mean, we're all a bunch of AI first guys, but like there's nothing that you can ask Nick that Nick won't like figure out with AI in like 15 minutes, right? And then evaluate your tech stack, evaluate your softwares, all this stuff for AI nativity, right? Run it through that process of like, are we dealing with a closed system? Are we dealing with an open system? Or are we dealing with AI first? built things. So those are the takeaways. This is something I know deeply about, right? We are not the first industry to go through massive change. I'd like to tell you the story of Blockbuster and Netflix. I think a lot of us know that Netflix had the opportunity to be bought by Blockbuster for like $1 million, right? Anybody know that story? Blockbuster didn't buy it because they didn't believe in Netflix. They didn't buy it because they're like, we can do this. We can do DVDs by mail, right? But then what happened when they implemented DVDs by mail? Blockbuster has a metric of, or had a metric of dollars per square foot of commercial real estate revenue, or whatever, right? Like dollars per square foot. When they saw their dollars per square foot dipping inside their stores, they were like, we're cannibalizing our business, kill the program. And we know what happened next. Blockbuster no longer exists. That's called the innovator's dilemma, right? Right now, anybody here feel like they're the category queen or king of your market? Like you are the number one, for sure. You're the number one property management company in your market, right? For sure. You're the number one company in your market, right? Like that company, JWB. I went to JWB and I was like, guys, I don't care that you're the biggest in Jacksonville right now. You are the most vulnerable to this. If you are so married to Salesforce that you are not willing to try these other tools that are happening, somebody is going to eat your lunch. That's the innovator's dilemma. The person that has the biggest advantage right now is most tied to gravity of the old way, right? Most people look at the future and try to bring the past forward. When these kinds of disruptive innovations happen, it's the people that stand in the future and reverse engineer it that win. That should be super freaking motivating to anybody here who wants to win their market. It is a wide open race right now. We are all week one of freshman year of college. It doesn't matter how cool you were in high school. You can say whatever you want, right? Like we're on a level playing field, right? We are all right now at the moment, we're giving owners everything that they wanted. It's like day one and it's already happening. It's clunkier than it's going to be tomorrow, but it's happening, right? Whoever figures this thing out right now is going to fill this gap. This context change that created a missing, you're going to fill it with the innovation. You're going to be the category king or queen of your market. But to me, the biggest thing that I've learned over time, right? If you Google property management memes, y'all, it is depressing, right? Like it's depressing, our property management means. We have accepted, right? Well, we want to talk about owner churn. Can we talk about employee churn in this industry? That's the killer. And it's the killer because we have accepted that we're giving people jobs that are going to burn them out. We're giving people this like never-ending firefight of tasks, that never-ending anxiety that either burn you out or like transform your cellular structure to look differently, right? And we've accepted this. AI has a different promise, right? AI, what we're talking about right now is the ability to automate the mundane, automate the billion little tasks that you have to get back to and get that done so that you can focus on that stuff that really moves the needle. This is a text that I got from one of our clients that I've become really, really good friends with. His property manager's daughter is very, very sick. You know, she's going to have to take some time off, but she's able to take this time off without carrying this burden because she understands that there's a system in place that's handling all the little things that she's not going to have to come back to. You know, like, are we taking humans out of business or are we allowing people to be more human? I'll tell you, the TLDR of this thing, for real, is that we are in an industry that is really, really unfair to the human being that runs that works inside the industry. There is a new tool out there that right now is showing real promise on flipping that paradigm. And it also has enormous economic consequences for you if you act on it, really positive ones. My conclusion in this book is that while the rest of the world is talking about AI as a thing that's going to take jobs away and it's going to, impact people negatively, we're different in property management because of these systems, because of these circumstances. In property management specific, the promise of AI is that you're going to take people from this burdensome meat grinder environment to fulfilling work that makes their life better and enriches them. Who wants this book? Anybody not have one? Ready? I brought 125 copies of them. I've probably given out about 80 of them. There's still 40 left. They're free. I want to give it to you. Come by. I'd love to sign it for you. I'd love to hear what you think. And the end of the book is my email. I want to know what you thought about it. I really want to thank Maria for inviting me to speak here. And more than anything, like, it's because she invited me to speak here that I decided that I had to like put this thing down, right? Like get this book done. This opportunity has forever changed my life. Thank you. Thanks, y'all.